Hi everybody. I think I've got a bit of a soft spot for Shropshire. And I was trying to work out why do I have a soft spot for this county. It may be that in one of my first roles in Action for Market Towns was to organise a very lively, successful event in the community-run facility in Festival Drayton, in Market Drayton. It may be that as a student one summer I had the best paid job that I've ever had, still, which was weeding a forestry plantation in Ellesmere and sleeping in a barn on potato sacks in the evening. Or it may be something to do with a girl that I kissed one Valentine's Day in Wales. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying your Shropshire experience so far. I did think about doing this presentation completely naked, in terms of no visual aids. But I have decided to adapt and use one visual fig leaf.
Back to plan A.
Home to grass, cows and wool dairy, which means we can source 90% of our milk from within 30 miles. And go from farm to yard in 24 hours.
And I didn't play that just because it's a seamless and happy link to the last presentation. I think it emphasised that thing that we generally do feel in a county like Shropshire, is that connection between the towns and the people and the countryside around them. But that advert's also a metaphor, really, for what I'm going to say in terms of the Shropshire story and a lot of what you've heard already. Within your packs, you've got a publication, the Shropshire story so far. I'm going to invite you to get involved in a little bit of audience participation. Now, I hope this works. What I'm going to do is play a little game of publication bingo with you. There are 3 publications and services at AMT that we're launching in our packs today. I'm going to start with this row of tables here. The first of those publications is about the Shropshire story. And there's a bottle of wine, an extra bottle of wine, at the dinner table tonight for the people who are first to shout out to me which is the first heading on page 4. And if you can shout that out, there's a bottle of wine for somebody. Don't put your hand up, just shout. Increasing capacity and coordination. I'll remember. They'll remember. I just want to say why it's important. Why is it that story that you've heard from Shropshire, and you'll have stories from your areas as well. Why is that important? Well, at AMT we believe that strategic support that the local authorities can bring is a vital ingredient, and it's quite often been a missing ingredient where things haven't always worked in the past. And if that support isn't there, an awful lot of the goodwill and energy that people put in at the community and the town level gets dissipated from the system. And to link it back to the advert, there's a whole series of events that need to happen to get the milk from the dairy farmer to the dairy, or to get the ideas from the community, from the grassroots, into Shire Hall. 50% of the things that you can do from a community action plan, you can do in your own town. 50% of them you need to influence and work with the local authority and with other organisations. And I'll leave you to read more of the Shropshire story. You've heard a lot of it already. But I just want to emphasise 3 things. I did a piece of work about a year and a half ago in another unitary authority that was getting to grips with localism. And they were making great strides, but they left me with some unanswered questions. And it was fantastic to do the piece of work in Shropshire and find that nearly all of those questions were answered. And just to give you 3 examples of those, which you've heard already and seen already, Shropshire have been very committed to putting councillors at the centre of localism. And I think that's very important. If you're not careful, councillors can get bypassed. And as one councillor said to me, Chris, I don't care how good the quality of the community-led plan is. If I'm the last person to hear about it, I'm going to dig my heels in and be awkward. And instead, what I've seen is Shropshire councillors getting generally involved, being advocates to get ideas out from the community, and to do the role where they're very well placed to do is to be spokespeople for their communities within the councils. The other thing that I think is worth looking at and thinking about is what you've heard already in terms of place plans. What I really like about the place plans is, to me, they seem to be working documents. Documents where the council says, well, we've listened to the bottom up, we've listened to all our information from our departments from the top down, and we've blended that together, and we're negotiating and talking to the communities about that on an annual basis. And so it's not a document that we write and in 5 years' time we try and write another one. It's an ongoing business plan. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And the other thing that you've already heard of you've heard about community infrastructure levy, all sorts of things. Shropshire's very positively embracing new sources of funding, and I think that's a challenge to everybody. So Shropshire was, I think, the second authority in the country to put in its plans nationally for how to manage community infrastructure levy. So all that provides a talking point. I think it's a very good example, but this conference really is about using that as a sounding board to get examples from yourselves around the country. So that's the first rung on what we call the localism ladder, increasing that capacity and coordination. The next thing that I want to launch, and I want to look to the centre aisle of tables to help me out with this one, is a set of services that we're putting forward to help those councils, town councils, those partnerships that are saying, we feel we ought to be doing something about this localism, we're gearing up about local enterprise. We're offering 2 services, Philip's already referred to them, the MOTs on partnership development and on community planning. For me, the MOT perhaps stands for the making of our towns. The clue that I want you to help me is that if you could tell me what the 3rd bullet point on the community plan MOT is, then there's a bottle of wine coming to that person. What's that, sorry? Thank you. And a bottle of wine for you. Also, the one on community planning, the bullet point on that. Overview of the planning process. Thank you. And I think we heard very articulated, really, in terms of the role of the town council working with the voluntary sector within that. And some of the trends that I just want to emphasise very quickly that come out of the work that we've been doing is I think that we're having to see an ever stronger self-reliance from our communities. Not a dependence on grants, really communities getting a grip of what their issues are, how can they construct finance in all sorts of innovative ways. And as part of that, there has to be more and more a very leading role, I think, for town councils. But not town councils doing it on their own, town councils working, delivering through themselves, delivering through partnerships, and delivering through trusts and other social enterprises set up to work within their towns. The 3rd publication that I just want to highlight that we've launched today, and Philip said it's already getting a lot of media coverage, is our 21st Century Market Towns. And if you bear with me, if that column of tables could just shout out the first main heading on page 3 of that publication, I'd be very grateful.
Making it real.
Making it real. Unfortunately, Ryan, as a board member, doesn't qualify for everything. So if somebody else would like to shout that out. Sue doesn't qualify. Maybe they'll have to qualify. It looks like I get to keep that bottle of wine, but thanks, Ryan and Sue. And again, just some key messages from that. It is about animating places, bringing them to life, and we're going to see how that's done for Ludlow. I think we saw it very well, the spirit of Much Wenlock. And we've got to keep those places alive, animated, interesting. And I think not seeing that we're competing with the bland shopping experience of online or the bland out-of-town experience. But they've got to be enjoyable places to come and do things and to shop while you're there. Within that brochure, you'll see that we thought through, we put thinking through and working with other people to kind of deliver a joined-up process. And to our mind, that begins with understanding your towns, and we have the process to do that, which we now do with 100 towns across the country, of benchmarking, getting people in the local towns out there, gathering the data, understanding what's going on from year to year, and learning from comparisons to towns. And then we work with a whole range of associates that we bring in to address particular issues that are brought up as part of that benchmarking process. And then lastly, to kind of complete that journey within revitalising a town, we've done a lot of work with a new company, MyCard, a loyalty company, which you'll see referred to in the back of that. And the idea of that, and what I really like about that scheme, is that that is a way of when you've improved the look of your town, when you've improved the quality of the service, it captures a tiny bit of spend, the increased spend within those towns. And that can go back to maintaining and continuing to improve your towns. Now, we've got a whole host of other workshops which are about to go off into in the coffee break. And really that's made the chance that you all get to interact, discuss things, because it's as much about learning from you coming as delegates as what we've got to show off ourselves and within the town. But just to emphasise some of those things, and I think they're all things that are at the forefront of where our thinking needs to go. We're looking at local enterprise partnerships. We're looking at green businesses and businesses that are rooted in a rural environment. We're looking at a whole range of community enterprises and asset transfers. Again, all part of this self-reliance that's got to come from the towns, and towns can take control. And on that note, we're going to end up with another plenary session on gearing up and being bold, new ways of investing. We did some work recently with two banks that are looking to invest in towns, and actually they concluded that money, from their point of view, is available, and it's available for investment, it's available for a very good loan. What they really want to see is good quality business plans coming from towns and passionate, informed and capable people, social entrepreneurs, behind them. And then of course we're going to finish the day by looking at our award winners, people that have already made it real. And that show practical examples of how you can be self-reliant, how you can have ideas within your towns. So today's about sharing. Very grateful that Shropshire's been up for it, very great that Ludlow's that's been up for it. The last thing that's in your pack is an expression of interest if you want our show to come to your town or your local authority next year. Very, very happy, myself or colleagues, to speak about what's involved over the next 2 days. I'd like to leave the last word to you, and let's see how this works. If I could have that row, and that row, remembering their things in sequence. So this row said it was about increasing capacity and coordination. This row, finance and the overview of the planning, and then that all helps the last group to make it real. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.